This is PACX. Let me start by just opening up PACX as it is right now. Brandon's going to be monitoring the chat. I'm currently working on a single screen on this particular computer, so it's harder for me to monitor chat and still do something productive. So any questions, he's got to relay a lot of those to me first, so that could take a sec. But we'll get started here and we'll show off the basics of what PACX can do. And I already feel like this is going to be too loud. If anybody, if it starts getting too loud, then just let us know and we'll drop that back down a little bit here. So this is PACX at its essence. The whole concept of PACX is just this wheel that you can interact with, and it goes away. It can auto hide. We've actually got settings for that over here that I have turned off right now, but if I enable that again, then it'll go away. The whole point of PACX is stay out of the way. There it is. Oh, there's our ridiculously loud Windows tone. Awesome. When you want it back, you go find it in one of these icons down here. Usually I'll stick it over here. It comes back. You can drag it around with this little thing in the middle. That's actually something we didn't think about at first. That was a beta feature that got requested. This was not a movable window when we first made this. So wherever it opened, that was it. It was planted. So somebody suggested that, and we kind of went, yeah, we're in 2019. You should probably be able to move a program. That's kind of a basic requirement. So there we are. Turn this back off again so we can use it. So the actual part that we're going to be working on today, for those of you that don't know what PACX is a passenger and crew experience. It exists to simulate, in a sentence, it aims to bring the feelings of responsibility of having passengers on your plane. It will give them their own unique interpretations of everything that happens. It gives you the ability to interact with them in a more immersive and more varied way than we've ever seen in the industry. And it gives you the ability to have dynamic and varied announcements. We will not be showing those announcements today, though. I think I'll just mention that now. So, with that said, let's take a look at some of the basics of PACX before we start going into actually developing features for it. So we'll open up the sim here and we'll load up our handy-dandy 717. And feel free to stop me at some point, Brandon, if you want to jump in, because I will just keep going.
And if you want to actually do me one awesome favor and share your screen here.
Oh, that would help, wouldn't it?
On our side. Yeah, so I don't have to wait 30 seconds and be just as shocked as the crowd.
Hey, this is true. Oh, now it's my camera.
Left one.
I only have one.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, okay.
Hey, shout out for the follower. Nutrient Ape, hey man, thank you for following TFDi Design.
So I forgot you're good at this. You're good at keeping on top of the followers and stuff. See, that doesn't even register to me. It should, but it doesn't.
We need you to keep pumping out these products, man.
Fair enough.
Don't worry about the social media. We'll handle that part. Do your job. You're efficient at it.
Hey, fair enough. So, all right. Well, with that said, then we'll take a look at some of the other PACX stuff here while we're getting set up. So, we are in debug mode on this one. So I'm going to reopen this in release mode so it behaves a little more like you'd actually expect as a user. Debug mode lets me do some stuff that you're not supposed to be able to do at this point, just so that way I can test it. We'll try it out here as a regular user. All right. So let's handy Andy 717 right on the runway. We'll leave it here. So the way PACX works is there's a couple of fundamental differences in what's been done in the past with passenger tools and what's being done now. So PACX, when you start a flight, of course you're presented with the regular start flight dialog. Now, there are systems in place to allow other programs like Smart Cars 2 in its current state, as well as any other program that wants to support it. They'll be able to give this information straight to PACX. So once we're done with this, you start a flight in Smart Cars, this will all be filled out for you. You won't have to do it. So today we're going to have to do it because this is all on us. So one of the things we considered is if you're a passenger and you're on a flight, you don't care if you spend an hour and 15 minutes in the air. You care that you get there at 7:15 p.m. or 6:15 in this case. That's what matters. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but aren't you more worried about your arrival time than your air time?
And myself and a lot of other people would be concerned.
So we took that into consideration with PACX. Unlike other systems where you just tell it flight time, we have flight time and we have time to departure, but you're only going to see those numbers once. You're going to get a system that counts down from this, but internally, it is based on when you actually finish the flight, not your air time. So if you know your gate time is going to be 30 minutes, and then your flight time is going to be 1.5 hours or an hour 30 or however you want to write this. I'm a programmer, so 1.5 hours makes sense to me. But there you go. We also have the ability to select Wi-Fi equipped aircraft or not. Your announcements will actually vary based on this. So if you select 717 with Wi-Fi, then you'll hear the appropriate safety briefings for that. We'll put in some other information here. Not sure if that's technically valid per FAA regulations. Not really that worried about it. So,
and just to add, the aircraft list on there is being extended. Your list is actually rather small from what I have.
Oh yes. So another beautiful thing about PACX is we wanted to make a system that everybody can use, that you can have look how you want, you can have the options you want, you can fly to the airports you want. So all of those settings, the aircraft list, the airports, and even this, all the passenger names that get generated, these can all be edited via an XML file, which means you can share them with your friend. It means a virtual airline can make a big master list and give that to their pilots. The point of that is to make it that you can customize the experience with little to no technical knowledge. So here, since we're in this anyway, this is the 100 and some odd passengers that we just loaded. Now, this is one of the time the way that it is to simulate somebody actually asking this passenger. The main thing about PACX is that we don't give unrealistic information to the flight crew. You're not going to open it up and see that they are 26.5% boarded. You're not going to know that information. You can't. What you will see...
Mama didn't think you could do anything
right. And here's Dad on the air. That's perfect timing. So, as we go through this here, now I have boarding set to instant, I believe, or very short. So, they're getting on pretty quickly. But, as we go through this, it'll tell us if they're on the plane or not. You could check that by asking them, or if you knew the itinerary and you saw they were on the plane or not. There's other information it'll tell you as well. This will update real time, so if we stare at this for long enough, eventually this might change. This will probably be a little less happy if we wait here for too long. And this is your passenger breakdown. So all of that information, every single passenger in that list has their own unique opinion of everything that happens. There's a little bit of randomness just because nobody's the same. But on top of that, there's also cues based on why they're traveling. If they're flying for work, they're going to be more bothered by late schedules. They're going to be more bothered by crew waking them up for silly things than somebody who's flying for, just to fly. They're going to be a lot more forgiving with little stuff like that, more likely to maybe have a couple drinks and somebody's flying for work. All that factors in. If you've got somebody that's a frequent flyer or they're an av geek, then they're going to be a lot less likely to be nervous about turbulence or little stuff like that. They may not have as much of an issue with some of those things versus, say, a nervous flyer. A nervous flyer, if you're flying through bad weather, you're going to have to overcome that. And you're going to see that reflected in the end of your flight report, and you're going to see it reflected in your satisfaction, which, as you see here, once again, we do not see, 25% happy. We see very satisfied, or 75%, whatever it is. So, that's the basics of what you'll get from the flight information breakdown for PACX. Now, a lot of this looks very simple at its essence, but there is a lot going on under the hood here to make this feel varied. It is going to be almost impossible to have two flights with the exact same information. So, that's that. Now let's move on to the interaction part of this. This opens up our interaction box. This varies throughout the flight. As different things happen, as events occur, as your flight status changes, you'll have the option to inform the crew and passengers of different things. In this case, let's say we just found out that we got a terrible storm here. The weather's going to be real bad, so we're going to have a little bit of a delay here. You tell them, you'll see it. The satisfaction is going to come down a little bit. They're still doing okay, though. It's not the end of the world. And an older gentleman, gentleman, says female right next to it. Apparently I'm blind. So she's doing okay. Doing okay. Yeah, so, they're not happy that we had a slight delay, but they'll get over it. As long as the rest of the flight goes well, shouldn't be a problem. Something else that's possible with PACX. If, let's say, I tell them we're going to be 20 minutes behind, like that's about what that is, 15 minutes or so as of now. If I beat that time still, if I still beat that time and I'm able to get there ahead of my original scheduled arrival, they'll actually take note of that and make compliments you want it, and it will impact the satisfaction of the flight. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to assume that we did indeed have a delay. Once again, on the bottom right, we do have that disclaimer. Anything I'm going to show you today, anything I'm going to talk about, this is all in development. This has been through testing. This has been through some serious development time, but just like any other software, especially unreleased software, there may be bugs. You may see them here today. I won't hide them if they happen. I'll address that they're bugs, but they will not be in the released version. Just want to get that out there. So anyway, with that said, now let me just ready to start the plane here, so we're not ready to fly, so we're not sitting here forever. Again, not necessarily the intended workflow, but it'll work. So now we can do other information here. We can tell them what's going on. We can ask them boarding status. During boarding, that's something new. We'll actually restart a demo later, and we'll cover that one. The interaction with the crew during the boarding is something that we really wanted to focus on too, because a lot of utilities in the industry right now feel really static. It's, you start and then you've got 25 minutes and that's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes you're not even sure how long it's going to take, and that's it. You can't interact, and it's very one-sided. And we wanted to fix that. So I said, we'll come back to that one. So that's about the extent of it for the interaction. Now, again, these will change throughout the flight. If you have an incident that happens, let's say a passenger has a medical issue or there's some kind of problem with the airplane, your passengers are going to be not only able to listen to, but they're going to be expecting you to say something. If there's a problem and you divert to some random airport and you don't say anything to anybody, they're going to be bothered by that, just like I would be. If I went to fly to, from Tampa to Atlanta and we ended up landing in North Carolina and nobody said a word, that'd be pretty concerning. The same thing is true here. If you're going to have to divert, just tell them. Communicate. That's the whole point of PACX. Now, another one we have is the ability to interact with the passengers vocally. So, what that means, you can actually give them a whole pre-flight brief. So we'll do it like this. Oh, see, that's it. I forgot this computer has some kind of audio thing that prevents me from doing it. It's one of these. That's this one. Alienware Sound Center. Gotta love it. So that demo's not going to work till I restart PACX. So we'll come back to that one. Well, we'll cover the boarding one in the process too here. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat. What we're doing here.
Oh, while you're jumping into chat, Sheepkiller actually wanted to know what version of Prepared you're running.
This is, I think, 4.4 as of now. Yes. 4.3. No. Yes. I'm blind today, apparently. 4.3. I don't know.
All right, 4.3.
Hand in a bag. Let's see what we get.
One of these versions.
Yes.
Well, shout out to you, Sheepkiller. It's 4.3. He's running the 717 in PACX.
I actually realized today I went to load up something else and I couldn't because it was PBR. And that reminded me I have not updated this computer sim in a long time. This has been a strictly work computer for a while, so. My home computer, on the other hand, that one's got all kinds of stuff on it.
Yeah, development sims are rather boring.
Yes. We need
just
it to
as
work,
plain
and
as they get.
Quick.
Yes.
Mostly because we end up reinstalling the sim once every 3 months. So, with that in mind, let me restart PACX here and we'll start getting into a little more than nitty-gritty. So, this is a development stream. I'm just doing an introductory demo. We'll get into some actual code and some more advanced features here, because I'm leaving out some of the important stuff for when it's relevant. So, we'll just finish up this little demo here. I'll show you the vocal interactions, and we'll talk about the boarding process as well. So, once this opens back up, we will start another little demo flight here. I'm going to cut the engines so it doesn't think that I'm pushing back. PACX has a bunch of stuff built in to help try to make sure that it knows what's happening in the flight. It is built to be very set and forget. For example, if your cruising altitude changes during flight, it will figure that out for you. You don't have to tell it anything, it knows. It does that based on analyzing your flight characteristics and other information about the flight plan, and determines what makes sense. And if you're doing a step climb, a step descent, it's going to notice that, it's going to amend it accordingly, so you're not going to get out of timing announcements and stuff like that. Same way with when you're entering flight times, just type the time in. There's no specific format, just however it reads to you, put it in there. The whole point of PACX is like that. It's just do it. And of course, now Nike will sue us. All right, so let me switch my boarding behavior here. Yeah, that's why. So we'll go to realistic boarding for the purposes of this. And a lot of these settings will actually impact the flight real time. So if we're going to start this boarding on realistic, it'll get halfway through the flight or halfway through the boarding. We change it to instant, it'll finish right there. That's not the intended use of that, but it does work. So we'll start it up. 15 hours to Atlanta. Okay, that would be a little ridiculous.
In what time? In what vehicle?
By car, apparently. Although I think you could do it even. We could do it even less than that.
I would
That'd
hope
be
you
bad.
could.
That'd be real
In
bad.
15 hours, you took the real scenic tour. But then again, Florida's a big pain when it comes to driving out of that state.
This is very true. Okay, so now we can see this a little more reasonably. So this person is seated. This person's not in the aircraft yet. So in this case, Sandra Fisher, this imaginary name we just created, is walking down the jetway right now. So now it's this guy. He's walking down the jetway. And you'll see here in a sec that'll say seated, and there he goes. So, but let's say you're on a big plane. You got 200 passengers. You're on something that can hold 200 passengers. And you want to know how long it's going to take. How is boarding going? Boarding status check. So now we can just queue it up. I just physically said to PACX, hey, how's boarding going? And now I see cabin status. Boarding, about 17 minutes left. So, let's say that's not good enough. Let's say we're down to 5 minutes for departure. We're already late. We need to get this going. Hey, can we try to expedite boarding, please? See? Now, that's actually a feature. So that ended up being a good demo. Vocal recognition is not perfect. I've yet to see anybody's that gets it every time. If you say something that PACX can't figure out, it'll put it in as a generic PA, and it will give you the option below it to modify it before it gets sent off. That's what I'm going to do in this case. So we're going to try to do it again verbally. If we don't get it, we'll let it send it off. Can we try to expedite boarding, please? We need to hurry it up a bit. See, bugs. That's it. Well, anyway. Point is, you saw me do it for the status check. It's probably something silly with the mapping. This is why it's in a development stream. Anyway, if we ask them to expedite boarding, we just went from about 17 minutes to about 11 minutes. That's the best they can do. They're hurrying people up. They're shoving their bags on the overhead. They're taking their bags for them and tossing them down the alley. They're making it happen at this point. So that gives us some extra time. You can buy some time back here and get them moving if you have to. Now, if there is something that goes on during boarding, sometimes you're going to have to move bags, let's say. You know, somebody's stuff doesn't fit on the plane. It's got to get checked in. It's right as you're about to leave. PACX does that. If you ask them, how's boarding going, and there's something like that going on, it's going to tell you they're handling a baggage issue, but it's not a big deal. No worries. If it's something major, let's say you have a situation where a passenger needs to be removed from the aircraft. They're just not cooperating, or there's some issue that they got separated from their family, whatever's going on, and it's not working. They'll ask you how you want to handle it. It's going to come up and say there's a passenger issue with boarding, and we're waiting crew response. You'll come into this menu, and it'll say response to crew. You know, remove passenger, reason with passenger, or, you know, talk to them, work it out, whatever. That doesn't always work. Sometimes they have to remove the passenger anyway. These are all things that can happen on PACX. It's random, and everyone's going to behave a little differently. Your odds of stuff going certain ways is going to be a little different every time. So that's the basics of the PACX experience, minus the sounds, of course. The sounds, we'll do a whole nother thing specifically for that, because that's going to be awesome. That'll be Brandon leading that stream. That's going to be his area of expertise. So, that's the end of that for now. Now, there is one more feature that we haven't covered here today that is very important. I'm going to set my boarding to instant. And just let's get this through here. With any luck, that should do what I need it to do here, and we'll get everybody on this plane pretty quick. Yeah, there we go. See? Like I said, about less than a minute left. We went from 11 minutes to a minute. There we go. Boarding complete. Okay. Perfect. So, now we're going to do a horrendously short flight here and demonstrate some of the post-flight capabilities. Oh, look, we took off. Yay. All right, and we landed. Welcome to nowhere.
Welcome to the same place we were.
Yes, so now we're diverting. It is not happy that I did that, so I'm going to have to go through some hoops here to make sure that it'll actually let me end the flight. Because obviously that is not a normal flight. We didn't do any of the things you would normally do. There we go, we should end the flight. Yes, I do. Okay, here is your end of flight report. Now, passengers, throughout things that will go on the flight, may or may not comment about some events that happen. Some positive, some negative. Some of them are just idle comments and passing. In this case, we didn't even land at the right airport. This is true. That was a quick flight. Yeah, that was definitely a little quicker than expected. We landed ridiculously hard at a an impressively bad 59,999 feet per minute. Planned arrival 11:08 p.m. Landed at 9:12 p.m. This is GMT, so it's there for avoiding any issues with time zones. Not such a great flight. Unsatisfied. I'd say that's fair. Now, we have the option with PACX to upload a flight to our server, and you can share that flight once it's uploaded with a friend by clicking View Online. That'll bring you to this. You're going to get the same information that we just got from there, but in a web form. And you can send that off to anybody. You can send it to a virtual airline. It only shows your name for the sake of validity, so if you want to include this with a pilot report or something like that, you can. Or if you just want to show it to your friends, you just want your own records, because there is a record of this in your TFDi design account. And I'll pull that up here too. One of these, this one. So that's a basic demo of the features of PACX. Now, of course, it's going to do more than that. There's going to be some extra things. And there is a big item that I didn't cover that we're going to be working on here on stream today. So, all of that out of the way, one of the real things I've been excited to get to do with PACX that I've had to build the groundwork for is I want to be able to, while I'm in the cockpit, I want to talk to my passengers without leaving the sim. I don't want to leave and talk to PACX. I don't want to hit buttons and menus. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to use the menu in the sim. I just want to hit a key or hit a button in the cockpit and talk to the cabin like a real pilot would. And you can do that with PACX. That's what we're going to be doing today. PACX has this code here I've got. This is the PACX code. This is called PACX Bridge. This is a module that's going to ship with PACX for FSX and P3D. We'll look into X-Plane down the line. I know X-Plane fans, I'm sorry. But out of the gate, this will support FSX and P3D. So what we're looking for today is, I have this code set up to grab when I press the PA switch for the 717. Now, there are some misconceptions on how exactly this process works. So I've captured a lot of the obvious ones that people would hit to try to do this, just to make it a little easier for the user. So, in a perfect world, that should be doing something. We should be able to get that PA to come up. But we're not in a flight. So, this one might actually work as it is. If it doesn't, we'll see why. I don't really care. Oh, yeah, that would be an invalid cruising altitude, wouldn't it? 30 minutes is not a valid altitude.
No.
Alright, so, there's that. Alright. Okay, so that's not working. Let's see why. So I'll attach this here. Just get this bad boy out of the way. One of those should be the cabin PA switch, Captain PA mic. So it's obviously not that one that I'm pressing. It's not coming in at all. It might have been one of these. That or... it might be an even bigger issue than I thought it was. Okay. Well, that's kind of how it goes, right? So, let's see what's going on. This is where we're going to get to the technical part of the stream. So now, if anybody has any questions, I'm done with my rant about what PACX is. So now is the time, if you want to start sending in questions, Brandon can field a lot of those and talk to me about them. And that'll help give me something to talk about while I'm doing some of this code stuff, because otherwise this will be... this could end up with 10 minutes of silence, and then, oh, there it is. And now we're talking again. I'd like to avoid that. And I don't know if you're ready to give a stand-up routine, Brandon, but...
Yeah, I don't really have good stand-up acts. Especially on command.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we are getting... This is working. So what aircraft mode are we in? So it's identified the 717. Now, what event ID is this? 74609. I don't know what that is. It's neither of those, that's for sure. Okay. Now, this is not something that we frequently have to deal with. So, we'll put this in here. Let's see what event that actually is when I press that button. This is the PA switch. It's interesting that it's not giving me anything. Ah, well, there's a really, really easy issue here.
That's a good question. So Yukon wants to know how it's going to be tied into the add-on manager.
So that's an interesting question. At this time, PACX actually is not part of the add-on manager. We were going to do it that way for the sake of it being unified, but we realized that it was kind of going to become clunky for the user because PACX already has its own settings menu, has its own process. It doesn't need another tool specifically to guide it along the way. It might be something that we could add, like once we add like a catalog page to the add-on manager, you'll see it there. You might have the option to launch it from there, but you're not going to have all your configurations from there. That is, unless it needs it. Like I said, at this time, it does not. So.
So yeah, if you have any questions, all you have to do is at TFDi Design, and we'll throw it into the pool and be answering it soon.
To respond to the grounded pilot, by the way, I actually have a phone here next to me now with the chat on it, courtesy of Brianna, so I can see it too now. Yes, this is a PACX stream. We're not going to be going into great detail about the 717 on this particular stream. I do see some questions about that. You are free to send us a ticket or an email or find one of us after the stream if you'd like to discuss that more. All right. All right, so this should do its job now. And to respond to the testing, this is a dev stream. That's the purpose of the stream is these features are happening right now. So no, we didn't test them because they don't exist yet. We're adding them right now.
Just to shine some light on a development stream, this is actually what he has to go through while he's developing.
Yeah.
The glitz and glamour of when the product is actually swept up, cleaned up, polished, and in your hands. That's not really there all the time.
Oh no, there's a lot of this first.
Yeah. And that's what we're getting from Facebook. Our folks over at Facebook, you definitely saw it. Collin couldn't keep his work session to himself. So thank you for joining us, guys. If you guys have any questions regarding PACX, or if you're a developer and you just want to get a quick question in, go ahead and at TFDi Design live on Twitch, or you could go ahead and tweet us.
One of these. So that little bug there does solve that problem. So I actually wanted to correct one other thing while I'm over here too. I'll wait. So we have PACX.online, which is the vanity URL that we're using for PACX. I forgot to edit this one, so we'll fix that in a second. But yeah, this is essentially, minus the getting to show people who find the product cool part of it, this is what the development process is like. Normally I don't get to have Brandon here with me and a whole bunch of people to talk to while I'm doing it, so that definitely makes it a little more interesting.
For those that are just now joining us, if you could actually show them our post-flight report that's generated.
Oh, absolutely. Here, let's see which one I can pull up. Is this one good still? This was good. This was not the one we just did now. This is not the one I did earlier. This one was way before I added some code. So just to show the development process for this is like, about a month ago or 2 months ago, we had this system in place, but I didn't have any restrictions on what they could comment on. So you could have an overwhelmingly negative flight, and they would say positive things still, which I mean, I guess is impossible, but unlikely. That's been fixed. So this particular flight would not be how that works. So let me see which one I should use. Is it this one? No. You know, I should have recorded that URL. All right, well, we'll do another one. That's what we'll do. We'll just do another one right here real quick. So I already got a flight in progress anyway. So that bridge will do its thing. And I'm going to restart everything as it is because I'm going to test the interaction in the cockpit because that should work this time around. in IO. There's some files in here. PACX will write the manifest file at the beginning of every flight, and that's going to be all of your passengers, where you're going, stuff like that. You're going to have your flight report. It'll write at the end. And then it's going to also, if you create a file, I think it's flight configuration.xml. I'd have to verify. There will be documents on this. If you create that file with the parameters that you see here, it'll pre-fill this for you, and it monitors that for changes real time. So if I were to do it right now, it would theoretically work. I just don't have one prepared, and I don't want to waste everybody's time writing one, because that will take me a minute. But, so that's number one. The other way to communicate with PACX is it is through a real-time two-way communication socket. That socket allows you to request information such as the flight, like where the flight is going, the current status, passenger satisfaction. You can pull the manifest, you can pull the flight report. You can also instruct PACX to perform certain activities. That list of what it can perform is going to grow over time throughout our own need and with requests from other people. But that is the system that the InSim DLL is using to communicate with PACX. And other developers can integrate with that too. It is a client-server model, so you can have as many in that as you want. So if you want to build a tool that reads from it and listens for certain events, and anytime a new event happens, you'll also be told too. So engine fire, public address, whatever, you can ask for information about that event. The goal is to make something expandable enough that anybody can read from that and make it part of their workflow in whatever way fits them, or integrate it with another package. Does it talk back? Yes. This demo today is strictly the code and feature side of it. We will have another demo that will specifically go over all the different ways the sounds can work. These sounds are going to be very varied and they're very dynamic, and that's kind of why we're not showing them today. Is we want to make sure that they're ready for an actual demo stream. But that is like I said, there will be a lot of sounds. When you talk to the crew, the flight attendant will answer you if you've spoken directly to her, such as the boarding status. She'll verbally answer you. As well, you'll hear the announcements to the cabin that they would normally make.
Checking out the demo
and shout out to Max Salisbury, really quick follow. Thank you.
Here is Rockwell. Somebody's watching me.
All right, so here's our information. We're back on boarding again. So now with that done, in a perfect world, we're gonna cross my fingers here and see how this works. We're gonna go and ready to start. Let's see how much I trust my code. All right, auto hide, just to prove that I'm not doing some trick in the background. I'm gonna let it hide. We're gonna full screen the sim for a second. If I hit this, it should. Ah, it didn't do it. I knew it. It was close. It was close.
Shout out to PB Easy. Thanks for the follow, man.
Okay, so that might actually be something else that's causing that one. So the goal that we're going for with this particular one right now is that when I hit that PA button on the overhead, it should let me just start talking directly to the passengers. That's the intent. We're not quite there yet.
Let's also keep in mind the computer that he is utilizing, guys, it's not trained with the microphone that he's currently using.
No,
as it is in the system that he uses during development.
No, yeah, you're going to see some truly terrible vocal recognition today, and that would be a lot better with a mic that your computer is ready for and on a computer that you trained it for.
I'd like to give you a round of applause as you're currently off-site. Let's clear that really quick. How does it feel to work on at least, what would this be, like a 16th of your usual workspace?
Oh, I'm used to having a pretty big... Normally when I work, I have two huge screens, and I sit in the middle of them, and I've kind of got this little cave of screen around me. I'm working on like an 18-inch laptop screen. So, and it's only one, that's why I've got everything split screen like this. Normally I'd have the chat up on the right screen, and we'd have a nice big visual on this one, but we're getting the condensed version today, because that's what we're doing. I'm pretty sure I named this wrong, that's why it's not responding to me. No, I didn't. Okay, so... it is not connected for whatever reason. So let's see why that might be a problem. That's our issue. Oh, no, there it is. Let's connect. So we should be able to get this to at some point here in the near future. And yeah, if you have any questions, send them through. Absolutely. And yes, to answer, Smart Cars and PACX will communicate. Absolutely. Smart Cars 2 in its current form, the intent is to have it pre-fill all of the flight information for PACX, so you won't have to spend time retyping all of that. That's going to be the extent of its integration in its current form. However, future versions of smart cars, on the other hand, different story. And I'll leave that where that is. That's a conversation for a whole other day.
See, if I could play piano efficiently, I'd go ahead and turn the piano dun dun dun.
Yes.
I guess that's close enough, right?
Sure. All right, so I'm going to restart PACX here. My bridge seems to be having a hard time connecting to it, and that's probably just because I've been restarting everything over and over again here. So, as you can see here from this little preview, we are going to support a couple of third-party aircraft with this in-cockpit control simulation right out of the gate. So, the NGX is on the agenda. Depending on how long this takes, I don't want to drag everybody's day out too much. So, depending on how long it takes, we might see that on stream today, or we might just do the 717s. At the rate we're going, it might just be the 717s. But maybe we'll get lucky here. Alright, so let me switch this back to debug so I can have my developer information. And give this another try.
And also, for those that are worried about missing something on stream, we will keep this stream alive for 24 hours. Until then, it's going to be up to those that are going to be capturing random funny moments that Collin does during stream.
Yes.
You know those little clips on Twitch? So we have actually another question from Sheepkiller. I'm gonna leave that up to you. He wants to know a price range.
Okay, so the thing about this is PACX is going to have, when it is complete, PACX is going to have more than just commercial flying. It's going to have corporate flying. It's going to have general aviation. We've considered the concept of doing military flying as well. It's a little harder to get right and doesn't necessarily need the same level of simulation the others do, so that might be something that gets pushed. But we do want PACX to have all these features. However, they're not going to be in the initial release. We're doing that to help focus on getting the core behavior of the application right, getting the user experience right, getting the sounds right, all of that, and then growing on a solid foundation. So, with that in mind, the initial price is going to likely be slightly lower, and it will go up once those extra modes get added. That is our current plan, anyway. And at this moment, Brandon, I mean, as long as you don't have anything to say, I have no problem kind of giving away the price that it's going to be at.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Let's do a dramatic roll. Let's get the music cleared and everything.
All right. All right. Let me cut the music.
And this
PACX.
is one of those moments.
TFDi designed PACX in its current form with full commercial aviation support and all the features you've seen here today and then some will be available for a single one-time price of $29.99 US currency. That will be the price it comes out at.
So shout out to the grounded pilot because he said he would pay 30-ish for this. So
You got it right on the head.
Close. He was right there.
The goal was to make something that was at a price point we felt was fair. That's kind of our whole thing. The 717 was very similar, but also affordable to the average consumer who doesn't want to spend $50, $60 on something that, they're not sure if they want yet. I would like to see a lot of people using this. I think it's going to add a lot to commercial flying and to flying all around once we get there. And I would like to see everybody using that. It's pricing it in a place that it's kind of obtainable for the average person is definitely something that we want to do. So now, with that out of the way, I will add that to the product page later today since that is now officially announced.
Shout out to Firebird who says, it's so affordable.
That makes me happy to hear. Thank you. That's what I was hoping for. So I am trying to see why this might be not cooperating with me here. Okay, so it's not even getting through.
And Samuel wants to know if this aircraft works for the 717 or will it work for others?
Okay, so PACX as a whole will work for... technically speaking, it'll work on any aircraft because it uses like FSUI PC to read the data, which I'll cover. We'll come back to that. I know we talked about that, so that's a whole other conversation. We'll get there. But it uses FSUI PC to read data from the sim. So you will be able to do a generic flight with it with any aircraft. Once we go to GA, same thing, any GA plane. What we're showing here, where I'm going to be able to click in cockpit buttons and do stuff like that, that's a little more specific. So that's going to be select third-party aircraft. I intend to support some of the aircraft that have published SDKs, such as the NGX or others of that caliber. If developers come forward and share with us how it works for them, we can see about integrating theirs. We'll also release an API that lets developers integrate on their own with PACX. So the goal is to have it work fully integrated with most aircraft, but it'll work at a basic level with every aircraft. And basic is subjective. You're still going to have all the features we discussed, minus the ability to click a button in the cockpit and have PACX open and talk to the passengers. That's the main thing.
Yeah, if we could expand on that just a little bit, so people know exactly what they're missing. Yeah.
Yeah, so, Brandon, you know where that's at, right? If you want to explain that, I'm going to take the time that you're doing that to see if I can't get this moved along so we can actually start showing these features working.
Sure. So, Samuel and Sakura, to both of you guys, yes. In short, it does not matter what you're flying at all. What the programmer is more or less looking at is the actual integration where the aircraft knows, okay, hey, PACX is talking to the aircraft itself. So for the 717 on initial release, we have the integration where when you're doing your cabin announcement and you just want to tell the passengers, hey, we're going to be on the ground for maybe about 15 more minutes. There's some luggage that's late. You're going to see the PA light lit without you interacting with the aircraft at all. All you have to do is tell PACX you are talking, and it'll handle that. It'll let you know the light will be lit, and once you're done talking, it'll extinguish. And that's the integration that he's talking about. That you won't get with every aircraft on initial release, simply because we have to work with those aircraft to make sure that's even a function that we can do. Outside of having that little light, you're still going to have your flight attendants. You're still going to have your flight tracking, with the times and everybody complaining because you're late. You're still going to have your landing rates. None of that is going to matter. Hope I answered that right.
Yes, it's absolutely
good enough
right.
For you.
Yeah, the whole in-flight experience, being able to talk to your passengers, all that stuff, that is not dependent on the aircraft at all. You'll be able to do that no matter what the plane is. That's the takeaway there. You'll get extra features if it's on a, quote, supported aircraft, but it works on all.
Now, to touch on a couple people that were asking this question, project pipeline, time frame.
So the features that we're looking at here, the reason that we're struggling with something like this today, and struggling is probably subjective, but that we're going through this iterative process. Again, I can't stress enough, this is normal. The fact that I've reloaded this file about 15 times, this is part of the workflow, believe it or not. Isn't it great to be a programmer? That said, we're talking about features now that are pretty advanced. A lot of the basic stuff, like interacting with the passengers, the code to play the sounds is already written. The code to do all the flight uploading is written. The installers are done. The website is done. So we're pretty close to entering an official beta with this. We do intend to have it out for sale before June 1st. This version that you're seeing here, it has a couple of minor hiccups, but it's already been tested for several weeks. So this is not in any way just hot off the presses. So that version with commercial flying support will most likely be available between now and the beginning of June.
Awesome. So shout out to Firebird, who was looking forward to that question, and many others. There's a lot of eager people here in the stream looking to have their answers and their questions answered. A little backwards, right? If you want your question answered, all you have to do in chat at TFDi Design, and I'll be holding those back for Collin here for when he has to reload the sim the next time, which should be in about 5 minutes.
Oh, we actually it is connected to PACX now. I was correct in my analysis that the problem was just we've reloaded the sim too many times. So I am getting my update function getting called here, which means once I start my flight here, we should be able to take care of that and show off that feature here, which would be amazing. So I get excited about seeing this stuff work, because this is something that I had just thought of at one point. I'm like, no, that would be really cool to do that. Didn't know how we were going to do it, but I knew we were going to do it. And now I'm about to see that materialize live on stream here, and that's going to be awesome. So Now, there's a lot of code in place, by the way, in this bridge that I've written to help make sure it doesn't crash and that it has no impact on performance. There's some, if you're a programmer or you're technically inclined, there is some sleep code in there. There's some interesting stuff going on to help keep it from sucking up CPU time. We're going to revise some of that before release. There it goes. All right.
Quick shout out to Champion Psy for the follow.
Okay, so PACX did send it to PACX. Now let's check the other side. Let's see what PACX does. So there we go. Here's PACX. We are almost there. Oh, something got dropped. That's what happened. We lost the connection somehow. Ah, so there's something dropping it. That's what's going on here. Wonder what that's about. Let's see what that error is.
And I believe that's Deejel. I apologize if I got that wrong. For your question, if this will work in X-Plane, I believe upon our initial release, the answer is no. We have intentions from the developer. Go ahead.
The product itself will. So similar to the in-cockpit integration, PACX itself, your ability to talk to passengers, all that stuff, that'll still work with X-Plane through XP UIPC. But again, your in-cockpit integration will be coming later / potentially not at all. The API is very different for X-Plane, and that'll take us some time to figure out how that's going to work.
Okay, yep. So to correct what I said, yes, it will be out on X-Plane.
Yes.
And to touch on the limitations, they're not even drastic limitations. It's simply a light to let you know that the passengers can actually hear you within the aircraft itself, and some other environment things that you won't really be missing.
Yes. All right. So let's see what's going on here. I don't know why we'd be having this particular problem. So I'm gonna restart the sim one more time. This is kind of the first real practical use test of this system. These all worked just like anything else. These all worked in their isolated scenarios that I put them through before the stream, because I did check this. Yes, to answer, will it become more than the original plan? Absolutely. The intent is very much to expand this well beyond what it is now. That's part of why we're going the route of taking the community input early on by releasing it just commercial support first. We want to see what people say about it, how they feel about it, and from the experiences we've had with the 717, we realized how valuable that input from the community is. So we want to develop the rest of this product kind of in tandem with the community and make something that they want, not just that we thought of. So, in short, yes, we intend to expand it well beyond where it is now.
So I got two questions here. Number one, shout out to you, Sheepkilla, for the follow. And to answer your question, will there be voices for situations like a hold, whether you're in the queue for traffic, weather? That's generally stuff that is handled by the captain. I do believe our flight attendants do voice their concerns about delays. Can we confirm that, Collin?
The flight attendant won't speak directly to you. If you do make an
No, I'm saying to the passengers.
I have to be honest, I have to remember specifically how that works. We've got so many things that they can say.
Our script is so extensive.
Yeah, there's so many things that she'll say, and there's so many variations of it. I don't actually remember. I don't think there's one explicitly for delay, but there are a lot of them in there. Worst case, we can have her record one for delay if that's something that we get requested a lot. We went with people who are working with us locally here, so if we need to expand or we want to improve the sound packs, or there's things we want to add, we have the ability to do that. It isn't one and done, and that's it.
Yeah.
So now, I think I've nailed this down here. So we should be able to test this here shortly.
I also had another one pop up earlier in the chat, which now makes sense. In terms of those that wanted, let's say their operator has a safety demonstration that's done by video, how are we addressing?
So there will be an option in the settings once we have the sounds implemented that you can specify a safety video. So in place of the regular full safety brief, it will instead play the safety video.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, thought I lost you there.
No, you are good. So did you hear my response?
On my side, you chopped out, which is why I lost you.
Oh, excellent news.
I think your question did get answered through. Were you asking me something?
No, we're good.
Okay. So now to add, the maple syrup can actually has a very interesting question. It did take me some research, so I apologize for the delay on that one. But he wants to actually know of a system like MedLink. Now, as a sound engineer, this one actually makes me pretty interested, right? Now, are you familiar with MedLink?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so we have an emergency on board, right? And the passenger is showing signs of cardiac arrest. MedLink is the doctor communication system between doctor and flight attendants, so they can stabilize the patient in the air without having medical personnel on board.
Okay, so I don't want to say
That is
that
very interesting. But
I don't want to say that we
like
have that, because that kind of implies that we've explicitly coded it for that, which we didn't, and I'm real big on honesty. So no, we don't have that in particular. But anytime that this happens, there's always the potential that somebody on the aircraft is able to help, and the crew has the choice of whether or not they want to kind of just proceed on course and see where it goes, or if they want to divert because of it. So you can use that to simulate that, hey, we'll take care of him. There's a medic on board. Let's get that taken care of. You'll hear the flight attendant ask you, or ask the cabin if there's any medical personnel on board. So,
yeah, it is a very interesting concept. To answer your question, I think we're gonna just go with the side of this more looks like an interaction system between the ground and flight attendants, and I don't believe you as the pilot would be intercepting any part of those transmissions. And with PACX, we're focusing on you being the pilot in command. You know, your job is to make sure you transport these people from point A to point B, and they get there at least safely. They got their drinks, and if they didn't get their drinks, well, they're going to let you know about it.
All right, so I do have working two-way communication between these two, so I don't know why we'd be having an issue, but we'll see here.
That's rather interesting. Well, shout out to you, Maple. Apparently the captain does do this, so
okay.
Not gonna say it's gonna be final. Not gonna say it's going in, but we're not saying no. It's worth a look, right?
Absolutely, it's worth evaluating for sure. Okay, so there is our vocal control. Test. Okay, so we are just about there.
So in that time, I'll go ahead and answer the grounded pilot's question. He wants to know if TFDi is going to develop a humor voice pack. Now, from what I've seen us do in the past, generally when we do something on the comical side of things, we generally hide them and put them around as an Easter egg, and it's either up to you guys to find them, or we're just blatantly clear about it. So what I will say about this is just listen for a rogue flight attendant. You know, maybe one day she might not have a good day.
It's very possible. All right, so this is still giving me a hard time. So we got it all the way to PACX. We got all the way from the cockpit control, but we got all the way from the cockpit to PACX. I'm just having a hard time maintaining that link right now, and I think there's a loop that's getting stuck somewhere or something to that effect. This shouldn't be a problem, but it is, so...
So Sheepkill has got an interesting concept about if we choose not to divert and the passenger dies on the aircraft.
See, now there's a limit to how far we're going to take that. There's definitely a limit, and we are approaching that limit at that point, for sure. Okay, so I actually did just find the bug. It was a very small bug. That basically, what happened is once the connection dropped or something happened, it got stuck forever in a loop of negative feedback, and it couldn't continue. So because of that, that was why that wasn't working. So that is fixed now. So now I can work on this.
That's when you zoom your screen all the way into the bottom that says in development.
Yes. See, that's another reason here that we leave that disclaimer that this is in development software. We make no promises that this will work the first time in the stream. When you're in your own time, different story. Yes, all this will work. And the reason I'm going through all this is so you don't have to. That's the best way to put this, I think. We're going through all of these headaches now so you don't have to. Why should you buy PACX over a competitor? Well, that's a twofold question. Number one, competitor is a subjective term because the focus of PACX and the way it's written and the type of things that it offers is kind of unique. It is in the same market space as other products, but it in and of itself is not a direct competitor to any of them. You hear that as you will. But beyond that, reasons I would take PACX over anything else in the market right now. You can speak directly to your passengers. You don't have to click menus. You don't have to do that. You can tell them you're going to be late and they're going to hear you. It's going to announce your actual flight information. You're going to hear welcome on board flight 2115 with service to New York. I don't know of anything on the market that can do that right now. Number three, it is going to be extremely lightweight, extremely fast, extremely efficient. It stays out of your way most of the time and has a huge feature list, especially considering the weight of the program. I'm a terrible salesman, so hopefully that was okay.
See, my answer is just here. You tell me why you would buy. See, but by that logic, my business would be super fire.
Oh, and there's the doggos.
There they are.
All right, so app.activate vocal control. This is on another thread. That's it. We're finally almost there. Okay. So I need to return this. There we go.
Now, PBZ, to answer your question, in terms of emergencies, we do have plenty of other, a plethora of emergencies, anything ranging from medical to, either cabin smoke detection or an issue on board with a passenger that's unruly. Once we start getting towards issues like threatening national security type stuff where somebody would be either open an emergency exit, that would be considered terroristic.
We're not going to be doing anything.
We're shying away from stuff like that, yeah.
Anything that could be even remotely in the vicinity of something that would be a terrorist type thing, we're absolutely not going to be doing. So like that, hijackings, negative, any kind of stuff like that, no. But yeah, there will be other events that can happen. Right now, the in-flight problem simulation is there. That's another reason that we want to get it out soon, is that way people can start giving us ideas. If you have an idea for something that you think would be really cool to have a chance it can happen on your flight, let us know. We want to know about stuff like that.
Most definitely. In the next couple days here, I'll be opening up a pretty much like a suggestions box poll on Facebook. So if you guys are following us on Facebook, all you have to do is go ahead and drop in a suggestion. If you want a feature to be added to PACX, just go ahead and let us know, and we'll definitely take it into consideration.
Absolutely. Oh, it'd be nice if I was connected to the sim. I'm trying to figure out why my breakpoints aren't running. It's because I'm not running them. So,
well, apparently you're not a completely bad salesman. Sakura said he's most likely going to buy it. And he said thank you for your answer, and it's a really good price point. So
excellent, thank you. We're doing our best. Like I said we've always had a big thing on price point. It's a tricky area because you have to balance, cost of development and all that with, value of the product. It's a tricky one for me because I was a simmer before I was a developer. And I remember, what it was like, especially I was younger when I started. I started buying add-ons and I was like 15, so I didn't have $60, $70 for this and then $50 for this and then $20 for scenery. So I know what that, I don't want to do that to somebody or put somebody in a position to really want something but just not be able to get it because it's just unreasonably priced.
Yeah.
I feel that $30 is appropriate for this. And to answer a question we saw earlier, as we add more flight modes and the feature set does increase, it is likely that the price will go up very slightly. But when I say slightly, I'm talking no more than $5. That would be months down the line once everything is fully finished and it's fully tested and it's 100% like long-term support type of software at that point, where there's no need to work on it anymore. It would just be by choice. When we get to that point, you might see a slight bump, but it's not going to be anything drastic. That's more of a reward to the people that jump on board with us early and help us be part of finishing it. That slight discount is kind of a thank you for them being part of the process. So in a perfect world, this will do what I want it to do. But not a perfect world, so let's see. There we go. Awesome.
Since you're actually you got everything running in the background,
Yes.
if you want to touch base on Sheepkiller, he wants to know what this is going to do performance-wise.
There will be no performance impact. The PACX itself, the majority of its processing happens completely outside the sim, which means that PACX can completely crash and it won't have any impact on your sim. You'll keep going. The tiny bit of code, and I'm talking like 100 lines of code or so that runs, maybe 200 now, but that runs in the sim, your odds of that crashing, because it is just such a small amount of code, minimal, and your odds of it having a significant performance impact, again, because it's very little or minimal. We've done our best to move almost all of the processing out of the sim just to make sure that we're not impacting the performance. So yes, that was a very long-winded answer, a very long-winded way of saying there should be next to none. So, now, without further ado, I finally have the feature that I'm trying to get to work all day, working, and the problem maintaining the connection was actually because of another issue, so that's fixed now too. So this is just an improvement all around today. So, with all that said, here is the experience that I would hope we'd have. Let me verify that this behaves the way that I think it does. It's not good. Okay, so let's say now I'll fix this here in 2 seconds. Or no, let's even do it better. We'll do it even better than that. I'm going to demonstrate this. PACX, the connection to PACX is implicit, by the way. All you have to do is have your sim running, and they'll figure it out. It'll figure out if it's running or not, and it connects for you. You won't have to do anything. It is all in the background. The whole point is to be as lightweight as possible. So, what I want to do is this.
Just wanted to correct, Sakura is actually a female, so I apologize.
I'm trying to figure out
And to
exactly
be
the best way to do this.
To be clear with the Cat 94, you're staring at Collin's code in Visual Studio, but more specifically, yes, what I tagged you in is PACX, and you can go to that website for more information. Yeah, Mike Hatteras said he wished he knew what he was looking at. Gosh.
Yeah, so this here is just the code for activating it. I'm moving some of it, so if PACX is minimized to the tray, when you hit the button in the cockpit, it'll still summon it. That wasn't that way before. This code should not have any impact on it if it's already the front window. Window. Okay. The front window.
Development stream.
There we go. That's it. Development stream. So we actually have there's actually a funny bug about this, by the way. So at some point, one of our testers, actually he's a DJ at Jet Stream, Connor McLeod, was on a chat with him one day. He went to do an interaction with his passengers this way, and it got stuck in listening, and then it just never came out. And that was it. So that is what caused me to implement that if you hit escape, it'll cancel it, so you can get back to it. Should it ever get stuck, and it thinks you're talking forever or something like that, you can forcibly cancel it and come back to PACX. Awesome. So
Well, that's good.
all right, let me verify before I make a fool of myself, which is what was about to happen. Yes.
Now I'm going to answer this question for you, and then you can answer it. I'm gonna say Kool-Aid because I don't know how to say the first part of his name. So shout out to you, Kool-Aid. He wants to know what's the best way to get into coding, and I was gonna say you don't. Now you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of a pessimistic answer. So let me the way I would say if you're gonna get into coding, pick something you want to make, and then make it anyway, even though you have no idea how you're going to finish it. Now, I'm not saying go tell the world that you're going to make it. I'm saying tell yourself. That's an important distinction here. But pick something that you want, that you think is awesome, and just do it. It doesn't matter if it's impossible. You'll learn along the way. The reason that I think that's an important way to do it is that when you do it from a book or from a video or something like that, it's a lot of times it's pseudocode, it's pointless code. And I feel, for me at least, that it's easy to get distracted. Or just, for it to get tough and we go, you know what, it's not worth it. I'll come back to this later. And you don't. Actually, when I started learning C++, I tried twice, quit twice, and then the third time I actually stuck with it. Because of that. Because I was just doing demo code and it wasn't keeping my interest. So find something that you want to do, that you think would be cool, and just start it. And along the way, you'll be amazed. 6 months in, you'll go, wow, I learned a lot, didn't I? And you look back at it and you realize that you've been learning every day along the way. All right, so there it is. That's what I want to see. All right, folks. So this was what the point of today's dev stream was actually here to show us. So we're going to hide PACX, right? PACX is still running. Excellent news to hear. Okay, so let's put this in a practical scenario here. Let's say we're not sitting on the tarmac. All right. Oh, this is what I wanted. Oh, I'm doing great so far. I'm a developer, not a pilot. All right. So we're going to get the plane over here ready to start. We're going to do this semi-realistically here. We're going to open this up. We're going to actually start a legit flight. I've typed this information about 40 times at this point. So I'm really glad you ended up joining the stream with me now, because this would have been hard to manage by myself. So shout out to Brandon for coming in with literally 10 seconds of notice.
Yeah. Live streaming's fun. It's great to interact with our community here.
All right, so here we go. We're sitting in our 717. Got our sounds like always. Turn it down a little bit, so it's deafening to me, so I'm sure it's loud to you guys. All right, so let's say you're sitting at the gate and you're getting ready to do your boarding. Your boarding's happening. You go, oh, we're really late. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. Just wanted to let you know that due to some traffic, we're actually going to be quite a bit behind schedule today. We appreciate your patience and we apologize for the inconvenience. And it doesn't know why it didn't catch that, but we're delayed. We're going to be a bit behind. We say, okay. I activated that by clicking the PA button in the sim.
And if we could keep in mind if trained and using this more often in a stable environment where you're using the same microphone and it's consistent, you wouldn't have to even fill that out. But even if you did, look how quick that was.
The point of that menu there is that in the event that it gets it wrong, like every vocal recognition software at some point does, you can correct it. You don't accidentally end up telling your passengers that you're going to crash because you said cash by accident. You won't have that kind of an effect that can happen with some of this stuff. So the majority of the time, you'll be able to speak to it normally and it'll get it. Again, I'm using a mic that I don't normally use on a computer that I don't usually do vocal recognition on, so it's doing its best to figure out who I am. It hasn't even figured that out yet, so. But here, we'll do another one. So that was a specific case of a delay. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know, at least when I used to fly pretty much daily, I loved to sit there and do my announcements to the passengers, right? I'd do my whole, welcome aboard flight, whatever, and, this is your captain, go through the whole spiel. And I was talking to myself, and I'd sound crazy if my dad walked in and I'm talking to myself, and my girlfriend walks in and I'm talking to myself. It's definitely a little bit weird. So, PACX takes away that effect for you. And, actually, I didn't mean to do that yet. So, PACX will take away the talking to yourself effect. Because if you just want to give a generic PA, you can do that. But I wouldn't do it at 2 in the morning when everybody's asleep, because that will irritate them. And you'll see that reflected in your end-of-flight report. Little stuff like that makes a difference. So, that said, imagine this scenario. You're getting ready to push back here. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is Captain Collin. We have First Officer Brandon here with you on PACX Air Flight 1. We're getting ready to push back here pretty soon. I'm about to tell you a bunch of random useless information that I'm sure you're not listening to because you're all playing on your phones anyway. So I'm going to take a nap while we're flying here, and hopefully we'll get there. And it said return to gate. That's why we have a modify button. See? That's what happens with this mic. Okay, so
But it wasn't entirely wrong. You said you were going to pass out during the flight, so of
Yeah.
course you would need to return to the gate if you were going to do that.
Yes. So jokes aside, if that basically it's the way PACX works is it listens for keywords. There's a whole algorithm built into it to determine keywords. That system, its chance of missing is pretty good when the mic isn't good because we include a lot of alternates to help with recognition. The longer your speech that you give it is, the more likely that it's going to have difficulty picking it up, which is why a lot of the announcements I've said have been pretty short. I guess the dog agrees. So, oh boy. Let's see if we can get them to relax a little bit here. All right, I think we're all set. Yeah, so the longer of a speech you give it, the more likely it is to have a difficult time understanding you. However, that's why there's that modify PA button. Generic public address, you can do that anytime, any announcement, and that will record that you spoke to them, and that information will be included in the report as internal, so other programs will know that you spoke to them. And again, you'll wake up certain passengers if it's late, and you're still getting that effect of talking to them. It's not going nowhere. It still has some value. And if you want to change the amount of time that it takes for it to auto-accept, by the way, you can either turn that off so it doesn't auto-accept it at all. You have to manually approve every one. You can make it 3 seconds, or you can make it 5. So, for example, test. See now, generic, it had no idea what I said. I had 5 seconds to figure out what it wants. If I leave it alone, generic PA. If I turn this off, what do you think I'm saying, PACX? Generic public address, and it's going to wait for you. So that's all user preference. I like it on 3. 3 is actually a little short for me, so I might actually leave mine on 5 when I'm legitimately using it. For testing, 3 is plenty. But that's how that feature works. You've got a lot of settings. Incidents is your boarding incidents, your medical incidents in flight, stuff like that. If you don't want that feature, if you just want to know that you're going to have a normal flight every time, you can turn that off. Your sound volume is, of course, going to be an option. You've got the network API port. This is an advanced setting. This may not actually be in the settings menu at the end. That is for me setting up the inter-program link. That's for ease there. Auto hide delay, you can turn it off if you don't want PACX to ever go away. That's a little strange because it doesn't really minimize, but if you're testing or you're trying to show it off on the live stream, it's definitely helpful because you can just stick this over here and then go about your day. It'd be nice if I clicked apply, but the concept is the same. It won't hide while you're looking at it, of course. You also have hotkeys that if you want to go straight to vocal input, you can do that. Or if you want to go, you just want to open it up from a hotkey, you'll be able to do that too.
So to touch base on Maple's question, he wants to know if all the characters will have names. And yes.
Oh, you mean like the passengers? Absolutely. Yeah. So here is our current passenger breakdown. And as we go through this list, we had covered this earlier. I'll just touch on it again for any new viewers. So this list is populated uniquely for every flight. The seed that it uses to figure out who these people are and what names they'll be can be modified. So you can add your own name to this if you'd like to have that as an option. An airline can build one specifically for their type of clientele. If you're in a different part of the world where different names are more common, that's something you can add as well. Totally expandable, very easy to use. And when you start a flight, it'll generate however many passengers are on your flight. It'll generate one for every one of them with their own information. It'll give them their own reason for traveling. It'll give them their own information for where, like, are they drinkers? Are they hungry? Are they tired? You know, are they more likely to have a problem with delays? Like, you know, if they're flying for business, they're going to take that more seriously. Versus if they're flying for leisure and they've had a few drinks, they're probably not going to be too concerned. And all of that is reflected. And when you put all those together, if you've got 115 passengers on your flight, your end-of-flight report is based on 115 individually simulated passenger AI reports. Your likelihood of ever having an identical flight, very little. This information here at the bottom is not for release. By the way, this is information that I'm using to help identify how the passengers are feeling. So you'll see stuff down there like, you know, special flag, you know, frequent. There we go, nervous flyer. There's one. So And actually, yeah, shout out to Brianna who actually helped us find the list of names to seed this with. This is a list, I think, of the top 200 most common names. Top 100 most common first names and top 200 most common last names, something like that she helped us organize. So
Shout out to you, Pilot Greer, and welcome to the stream, man. Glad you find this cool.
Hey, and on that, my drive-by is done. I'm going to leave you guys with Kenny Loggins and...
So that is about the extent of PACX in a nutshell. We will be expanding the integration with the aircraft. You can see already that there is a PA in use light here on the 717 that's lit up. Again, we're early on in this particular features implementation, so that'll get controlled. The goal is to have that light come on when the PA would actually be in use, so you'll see that information. As well, now this particular one, it finally went off. The button is getting stuck in because PACX is opening over the mouse. So I'll adjust that it'll behave a little more normally when you're using it. Again, we just got this feature working, so the point is to demonstrate that we have a two-way communication between PACX and the sim. Similarly, I think one of these buttons, if I press one of these, will open it. That's the one. Same concept. It gets stuck in. I'm gonna change this how when the button is released is when the event happens, so you'll end up with a natural experience. Oh, Avgas Kool-Aid. That's awesome. So, the names list, you will probably see names that you know at some point, yes. Again, we don't do that on purpose. It's totally random, but that could definitely happen. But hey, that adds to the immersion. Maybe your friend's taking a flight. You don't know. So at this point, now we're good to open up for questions. If there's anything else, we're going to have the floor totally open for any questions you want to ask about, specifically about PACX and its development cycle. Let's start there. And we'll cover some of those because we're getting ready, I think, to about wrap this up. That's what I had on my agenda for today. So, thank you, Ricardo. I just got that live on stream. I'll find that interesting. Ricardo is both a programmer for us and one of our partner companies. So, he needs to know that I'm on stream right now. So,
apparently Discord can't talk to Twitch. I know I can't talk to Skype.
Evidently not.
Does anything talk to Skype? So, real quick to Dot Wallop, which is a rather hilarious name. That's great. So, according to him, he wants to actually know if you're going to be able to hear your own announcement, which I actually find very interesting.
Okay, well let's define that, because he mentioned recording too. If you're talking about mic loopback is hard to get right without significant latency, and it won't sound like talking through a PA. It'll sound more like it'll sound like you're listening to yourself through like AirPods or something on a phone, and that's not going to be a good experience. But to record it, on the other hand, technically speaking, yes, code can be written to do that. I'm just want to make sure. I want to clarify exactly what the intent is there. And yes, to cover if it will work with X-Plane. Currently, we are using FSUI PC for connections, which will allow it to work with X-Plane through XPUI PC. Now, I did want to actually touch on that because we had mentioned when we announced PACX that the goal is to move away from FSUI PC. So we did that initially. I wrote a whole version of SimConnect that, our whole bridge through SimConnect that allowed us to get data out of the sim without needing FSUI PC. We realized at some point after a couple of months of doing that FSUI PC is actually really good. I mean, I knew it was good anyway, but it has some features that I was struggling to match with my own code, and it also made us supporting X-Plane implicit, which means that it's more cost-effective for us. It means we get to offer a more unified solution for our users. So we elected to go with that route for now. Should we ever need to change away from FSUI PC, we can, but at the moment, that's our bridge to the Sims data. So because of that, yes, it does support X-Plane. It technically also supports FS 2004 because of that, if anybody is still using that, which I know I haven't heard of in a while, but I'm sure there are some.
For the community. You're listening to Jetstream Radio. Be part of the flight simulation community at fselite.net.
All right, let me see what else is coming up here on the questions list.
Jetstream Radio.
We're getting you to your destination.
Oh yes, my last name is not actually in the list of names, so I'm not real big on the shameless plugs like that, so that won't be a thing unless you add me. If you add me, then I'll be there. What is resource usage like? So the goal is for PAC's resource usage to be pretty much unnoticeably low. So I'm running it through a debugger right now, so it's not showing up as a regular program, but it runs outside the sim, and 95% of its logic happens outside the sim, which prevents it from being a problem for performance. Now, my current usage specs are looking pretty awful, because not only am I debugging, I'm also running the sim, and I'm live streaming, and I'm in a Discord call. So I got a lot going on right now, and this is a laptop that I'm working on, and we're doing all this still with PAC's running. So if that gives you any idea where it's at.
So just a couple of shout outs to our followers here. Shout out to FS Private, follow during the stream. Shout out to you, Max Salisbury, and Tall Viper, along with Sanj. Shout outs for the follows, guys, and keep up with us on Facebook for more information, all things TFDi.
All right, and let me just take another scroll through these here. So I think we've covered a lot of the questions. Anybody that missed it, the price for this is going to be initially $29.99 U.S. currency, with a slight increase somewhere down the line once we have general aviation and corporate flying and potentially military. That's not set in stone. And it's a little more of a refined product and it's got everything that we dreamed of it having. That prices can go up a little bit, but we're talking no more than $5. That initial discount, as I've said earlier in the stream, was pretty much just as a thank you for people who want to, become early adopters essentially and work with us to develop it into what it is. And I'd say that not that it's going to be some buggy, half-finished product, but that we want the feedback from the community to help shape the path it's going to take, as opposed to deciding for everybody and letting them live with it. The whole thing about PACX is it wants to feel inclusive, but also very lightweight and intuitive. And as much as I'd like to think we can do that with our team of even the 10 guys we have and our 20 testers or whatever, that's not going to be enough people to really make sure it covers it for everybody. I know everybody is not, it'll never be perfect for everyone, but the wider the audience, the more feedback we can get, and I think the more rounded of a product we can create.
So we have another, actually, Dot Wallop expanded on his question on the chat. If you want to pull, or I can go ahead and grab that for you.
I see it. Okay. So if you're talking about a loopback like that, I did write something that did this in a 717 initially. The reason I gave the answer that I did was because in the beginning, if you hooked up the audio control panel up in a 717, this is during the development. If you hooked up the audio panel correctly, you would loop your mic back to yourself as if you were speaking to the PA, because I figured that'd be a cool feature. Ours was it was very latent, which is the problem, and I didn't want to use like Agio or anything like that for audio drivers, because that would just be overkill for what it is, in my opinion. I think that incurs a lot of overhead, and it opens up the possibility of crashing and other problems for a relatively minor feature, and I didn't want to do that. I can look into it again for PACX. I will add it to our ClickUp board for this here, which you are absolutely getting straight off the presses here. This is our project board. Just so you know, I'm not kidding. I'm going to add it to our list. So I'll keep that on the list, and we'll take a look at that and see what we can do. I make no promises. We might determine that it's just not good for resource consumption or for latency, but
if you can add, if you can add for post recording as well, because I believe he was touching base as well on the like if you wanted to upload the video after something like a CVE type system.
Oh, okay.
A CVR, sorry.
CVE. Okay. So that poses that's interesting. Now that's definitely possible. If we're not going to loop it back real time, then yeah, that's definitely doable. I
I
think
think
I
on the
can
sound
actually pull
engineer's
it.
side, I can see something from there. Yeah.
I think I can actually pull it straight from the vocal recognition. I think it's already there. I just have to read the WAV file from it. So that might actually be trivial to do, which would be great.
Yep. Awesome. That's exactly what he's looking forward to seeing. He would definitely love to either play it back later on, or maybe record it and then a couple seconds later just grab that audio and hit play so his streamers can hear it.
Oh, gotcha. In case he's not okay. In case he doesn't have his mic hooked up. I like that. That's a very smart feature. No, we're gonna do that. We'll do that. I'll find a way to make that happen. I'll do my best anyway. And if it's impossible, then is what it is. But shouldn't be. Actually, here, you know what? That's the point of a dev stream, right? Let me check the code out for this.
Well, in the meantime, thank you for the follow, Dawallop.
Vocal control manager. Okay. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head here. I'm gonna go ahead and kill off this version of PACX. Check this. What is in here? Audio. Oh, tell me that's gets the audio associated with the recognition result. That is trivial. We're good. We're good. I could do that right now. Right to WaveStream. Yeah, I could do that right now.
There you go, Dawallop.
I'll even
Welcome
make it-
to our development stream.
That is why I want to get PACX out to the public sooner rather than later, so we can have more conversations like this. That's exactly what I want to do.
See.
Make a note of this so when I come back to I'll know what I was talking about. Is that what we could do is after the vocal recognition is complete, there could just be a play button on the bottom of that little interaction menu. It just says play announcement. That's awesome. Yes, and it'll be compatible with any aircraft. And everything that we've shown here today, with the exception of the ability to press the PA button and open PACX, that's the only thing that will be aircraft specific. Not just ours, but it'll be select aircraft. But PACX, all of the features we talked about, the AI simulation, the ability to talk to them, the flight reporting, the online flight sharing, the mic recording we just talked about, all of that stuff is going to be compatible with any commercial aircraft, any aircraft that you'd want to do a commercial flight with. And then when we add GA and corporate support to it as well, it'll be any aircraft that you can think of. Another reason that we're waiting on the corporate and GA parts of it as well is that we want to make sure that we nail that and truly make that feel like it is a first-class citizen in PACX, and it wasn't just thrown in so we could say we supported it. We spent all this time just making sure that the commercial side was right. Now, of course, we wrote a lot of stuff that isn't specific to commercial that we're going to reuse, but that's where we started. That's the biggest use case right now. But we're going to take a step back once that's kind of finalized and go talk to corporate pilots, talk to people who've been on corporate flights, get a feel for what actually goes on, what type of things they see, what problems they encounter, what announcements, if any, are made, and make sure that we faithfully capture and recreate that feeling in PACX. Similar with GA. GA is a little easier to get. There's really not a flight attendant, so we don't have to go as in detail with that, but the passenger feedback is definitely a real thing. As well, the purpose of the flight is something that we've considered addressing, and I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't want to get people's hopes up. But there's a lot that's on the agenda for us talking about that stuff down the road. So timescale for release. Well, technically, we intend to have this version of PACX, of course with some refinements and sounds that we did not show off today, out to the public before the beginning of June. We said June 1st on our site. We said June 1st because we don't want to push it too close to Flight Sim Expo. Just that way, if there's any, launch day teething issues, we've got time to get them fixed before we're away for those couple days. As is always the case, if something goes crazy while we're there, then we'll work on it. I have my laptop. Brandon has a laptop. We're good. But the goal is that everybody can be enjoying it that whole week while we're at Flight Sim Expo. So this should be in the public's hands within the next 30 days. In its current form, like I said, without corporate or general aviation flying.
As the sound engineer, I'd like to focus our viewers' attention to our Instagram in the next couple days here, as we might just have a little sneak preview of some flight attendants in action.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome if we could make that happen.
I'm thinking we can get a little something going on like that. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook at TFDi Design, and you might just start catching the first glimpse of our audio portion of PAX here.
And Brandon, if you wouldn't mind dropping a link to it, actually I'll do it in the chat so it's easier. I'm going to post a link here to how to get to the PAX main site. If I can find that.
Here, I actually have that here.
Apparently,
Just
I had a network error on my feed of the stream here, so I'll refresh that and I'll find that. Okay, you know, I'm not a live streamer. It's pretty clear. Yeah, and if you want to get there quickly, this too. We did purchase PAX.online. That's where your vanity flights come through. So you'll have PAX.online /flight/ whatever the name was or the ID. It's very easy SEO sharing essentially, so it looks pretty when you click on it. PAX.online will also take you to the product page. So you'll have some information there about features, specific features. You get some screenshots as well as some technical information and release scheduling. So that's something you can look to for that, as well as our social media. We will keep everybody up to date. But if there's any other questions about PAX, now is the time, folks, because we are getting ready to wrap this up. We've been live for a decent bit now, and I feel like this is a pretty productive stream. Yes, I just have gas. I saw that come in. Yes, you'll be able to use this with X-Plane via XP UIPC on day one. And I think that we'll give them 30 seconds because I know there's a latency, so I'll give it a sec. But unless anything else comes in while I'm giving my whole spiel here, I'll probably start getting ready to wrap this up. I do appreciate everybody that came into the stream here today. I had a great time. It's been my first time on a live stream in a long time. So it felt nice to get back out there again.
Yeah, definitely want to thank you guys for coming out and supporting the stream. So he wants so Dot Wallop wants someone to actually yell at you for being late.
He wants to yell.
Well, actually, no, correction. He wants to yell at the dispatcher for being late on the flight information. There we go.
Hey man, nobody's stopping you.
No one's stopping. Just peek your head out the window and yell.
So, alrighty, everybody. Well, I am Collin from TFDi. This is Brandon here with me. This has been awesome. And with any luck, this will be hopefully the first of many dev streams as we go forward here. And we continue to do the things that brought us into this industry to begin with. Thank you all for supporting PAX and supporting us. And definitely stay tuned for some new information coming out soon. Thanks, guys.